I don't think I've ever been this impressed by a pair of bookshelf speakers, especially mini bookshelf speakers like these. These are 2,500 US dollars a pair. They're very small. This means that they are fitted for desktop use, near-field use, or bookshelf speakers in a small room. They're not meant to play at concert levels. It plays amazingly well in my listening room between 80 and 85 decibels, but they maybe need a little bit of help under 50 hertz. But my room is 25 feet deep by 16 feet wide. In near field use, like in desktops or in an actual bookshelves, this is where they serve up musical magic at just 65 to 70 dB. So that's the context in which my opinion will now be given in this video. This bookshelf speaker is designed by the Wathen head engineer in Texas. These bookshelf speakers are built, packaged, shipped out of Texas. And these bookshelf speakers use an AMT tweeter and a 3 or 4 inch midwoofer, as well as a passive radiator underneath. Both of these drivers are actually made by Dayton Audio, but they are made specifically for Wathen in this case. So they are very similar to off-the-shelf drivers that anyone could buy. However, the ones that Wathen uses are modified specifically for these speakers as per Wathen specifications. So the AMT, specifically first, actually has the Cryotone process applied to it. So for those of you who don't know, Wathen is the company that also produces Cryotone tubes and also Cryotone guitars. And they're capable of applying their Cryotone cryogenics process or their recipe to this AMT. And this seems to really help with dynamics and the smoothness on the top end. What I am hearing is super clarity and detail without fatigue. For instance, those highest octaves on a piano, they sound intense and it flirts with that hint of a bite, but never fatiguing.
It's easy to say, man. Did you compare with one that has not been treated by Cryotone?
Okay, no, but I've heard a lot of AMT tweeters in the past, and a lot of times AMT tweeters can feel harsh and a little bit edgy and definitely on the bright side. However, within the bright spectrum, it's on the side of transparency and holographic quality, not on the edgy side. It gives me the impression that it's about to bite, but just before it gets there, it smooths out with a gorgeous decay. It's very immersive in like a very, very real way. I wanted to compare these bookshelves with another bookshelves. So on hand, I had a pair of Focal Electra BEs, a little bit older, but those are speakers that to me was always also, I felt like they were a little bit on the bright side on the top end because of their beryllium tweeter. Now, they're not a bright speaker. They're not. But that beryllium tweeter, maybe bright's the wrong word, but the beryllium tweeter on Focals definitely has like that higher notch of detail retrieval and can lead to transparency as well. So these Electra BEs, from my past experiences, to me were extremely detailed. They had a little bit of bite in the top end, but they were still very much capable in terms of refinement. I mean, these were expensive bookshelves. In terms of comparison, actually, they are, even in today's standards, they're still well over 2 times the price of these. After listening to the Focals, strangely, a few hours of going back and forth between the Focals and the Wathens, in comparison, the Focals actually felt a little bit muffled. Normally, I would think that that can be a sign of listening fatigue on my end. Let's say if I've been sitting down listening to a speaker that's just way too bright for too long, and then in this case, it would be the Wathens. Let's say At first, I challenged myself. I was like, wait a second. So maybe the Wathens are a little bit more on the bright side. And then when I come back to the focals, that's what, like, my ears are now so attuned to that brightness that anything that's less than that now will feel a little bit muffled until my ears adjust. But I kept going for days, and every day I would do a listening session with the Wathens, listening sessions with the focals, and back and forth and back and forth. But even after days of doing this, the focals always felt to me like they were a little bit muffled in comparisons to the Wathens.
Wait a minute, did you say that vocal sounds muffled?
In context and comparison to the Wathens, I don't mean in terms that the top end is muffled. The cocktail in the mids and the upper bass of the focals, to me, in comparison to the Wathens, have a muffled character. Again, just compared to these.
That makes more sense.
Anyway, the focals were very detailed, but the bass and mids seemed to be on the messy side compared to the Wathens. So there's this sense of like extreme effortless flow in the sound with these little bookshelves. It's like flipping on the switch that all of a sudden you feel like you're in this fishbowl of sound, like a really good pair of headphones even. Everything just feels alive, similar to the difference between watching a video with HDR, these guys, versus no HDR, in this case, the focals. The contrast in the dynamics of these very little speakers is awesome. The results was the same with all the amplifiers I tried this combination with. So I tried it with a very large Class A single-ended DIY amplifier built with top-notch components. I tried it with my 211 tube amp by Melody, which is also Class A single-ended. Tried it with the Galéon TS-A20, which is Class A but a push-pull Class A. And I tried it with the Galéon TS-A75, which is a Class AB push-pull. The character differences was essentially the same in all these comparisons. I still felt like the focals sounded a little bit more muffled in the lower mids and bass compared to these. Although the focals in the listening room, considering they have a much larger cabinet volume, did produce a little bit more satisfying bass in the lower end. And if you're curious, I have a really long sound clip actually of the comparisons between the Wathens and the focals. It's on my Patreon. It's free for 7 days, or it can be $2 a month if you want to help support this channel, but it's not needed if you just want to hear the sound clips. Just check out the link in the video description or in the comments so you can go hear the comparison. It shifts back and forth. So it's a long track that just that I level matched and superimposed both tracks and was just alternating back and forth between the Wathens and the Focal Electros. So it's a cool A/B comparison. Go check it out if you're curious. Now, considering their size, I thought that they did a very good job in my listening room, but these will not defy physics. Meaning, it sounds good in a medium to large room, but don't expect concert levels out of this, especially when it comes to bass. Come on, guys. Look at the size of the woofer. You're not going to pressurize a large room like mine or like yours with woofers of this size. So I decided, hey, let's see what they sound like in Nearfield. So I put them on my desktop. This is where the goosebumps happen. I'll let that sink in for a second. So on my desktop, I use my DAC and the Galéon TS-A20. The stage, the depth, the intensity in the sound without any fatigue. Just smooth, hyper clear realism of instruments and voices. But then it happened. A massive drum and stand-up bass started playing right on my desk. And they were both separated behind my big monitor. Damn. These things are spectacular in Nearfield. And I mean spectacular.
Man, do you think a lot of people will buy speakers for their desktop and pair it with $7,000 of equipment? I mean, is that a fair evaluation?
I thought the exact same thing.
I'm sure you did.
Who do you think decides what you get to say in this video exactly?
Good point, Loic.
So then I tried it with a cheap $100 SMSL Class D amplifier. And just having my cell phone via Bluetooth. This was insane. Okay, no, I'm not saying that the Class D amplifier sounded better than the TSA-20. No, what was insane about it is that even with a cheap, noisy Class D amplifier with my Bluetooth phone, these things shined. It was so good. Then I decided to take this and set them up in my actual bookshelves. That's right, in my living room. I put them right into the bookshelves. And in the past, when I've done this, this actually helped increase the bass output, considering my living room is a somewhat of a larger space, similar to my listening room, actually. So I thought, hey, this might be interesting. Boy, was I right. The bass was so good, actually, that the drums and like the low end of electric guitar was just felt. It was there. And there was no boominess, just tight and impactful. Very powerful, very clear and defined. Sure, the speakers are in a bookshelf, so the soundstage wasn't quite as magical as they were in my listening room or on the desktop. But come on, everyone. This is just for background music while enjoying quality time with your family and friends. The sound was just so good that it even dominated me and my wife's conversation. So I don't know if you all experience this, but when I'm with friends or family, the effects of great sound on people that are not audiophiles is that it makes them want to pick the next track. It's like they fight for it. It's like, oh no, can I pick the next one? Can I pick the next one? And when their song kicks in, they kind of stop talking and they just listen. This was my experience with the Wathen minis in my living room, set up inside the bookshelves. Now, here, I'll give you a little tiny sneak peek. But if you want a longer sound clip, like I mentioned before, Patreon, free for 7 days. Go check it out. I have longer sound clips of inside the bookshelf as well, and the desktop experience, as well as the comparisons with the Focal. Anyways, moving on. Yeah, I'm very impressed, to say the least, with these speakers, and I'm now looking at their catalog of speakers because I am really curious to hear the bigger stuff. Yeah, these could be the sleeping gems of hi-fi right now. Like, no one's talking about these yet. They are something. And oh, they have open baffle speakers too. 2 different kinds. So, thanks for watching.
You forgot to tell people to subscribe to your channel.
We're in 2025. People know how YouTube works now. If they want to subscribe, they'll subscribe. They don't need to be told or reminded they have to subscribe. Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone.